What's up, everyone? Welcome into DodgerHeads, presented by DodgerBlue.com, your home for the 2020 World Series champion Los Angeles Dodgers. Today, we are talking All-Star voting. As I record, it's Wednesday morning. We're about 24 hours away from finding out who will make the All-Star team. And I just want to talk a little bit about the Dodgers who are in contention, put their numbers in perspective, and get your opinions in the comments below whether or not these guys belong. So just a reminder, the last update we got a few days ago, Max Muncy was second among first basemen. Gavin Lux was third among second basemen. Justin Turner, second among third basemen. And then Mookie Betts was fourth among outfielders. Chris Taylor, ninth among outfielders. Will Smith not in the top three, so he was not listed. So let's go through the candidates for the Dodgers. We'll start at catcher, the guy I just mentioned, Will Smith. This is a guy who's criminally underrated around the league. How he's not in the top three is beyond me. You look at his number. He's second in WAR behind Buster Posey. He's third in OPS behind Posey and Omar Narvaez. He's third in home runs behind Posey and Contreras. So Posey and Smith are the only guys to be top three in WAR, OPS, and home runs this season. Will Smith is also among the best defensive catchers in baseball this year if you look at some of the defensive metrics. And so Will Smith is a no-brainer. He will be an all-star this year. I'm pretty confident in that, even if he doesn't get voted in as a starter, which looks unlikely. At first base, we got Max Muncy. This is probably the easiest conversation to have out of all of these. Max Muncy's WAR this year, according to Fangraphs, 3.2. Next best among first basemen is 1.4. NL first baseman is an absolute wasteland this year, so Muncy should be an obvious one there. He's tied for the most home runs among first basemen. His OPS is 100 points better than the second best guy. No need to say anything more. Now, second base is where it gets interesting, assuming Max Muncy is classified as a first baseman. Chris Taylor, Gavin Lux are the two guys mentioned in this category, I would think. Gavin Lux currently third among second basemen. I had a bold prediction that he would be an all-star before the season, so I'm invested there. The reality, though, is that he just doesn't stack up. Let's put Taylor in the outfield category because I think that's where he belongs. Lux is in the 15 to 20 range in OPS, depending on who you qualify as a second baseman. He's 11th in wins above replacement, and so I don't think he makes it there. Taylor, you could make an argument, could be a second baseman. Among second basemen, he's fourth in wins above replacement, third in home runs, and fifth in OPS. So there's some competition there, but I think there's an argument to be made. For Taylor at second base, I think Gavin Lux will be on the outside looking in. Shortstop, we can skip. Obviously, Seager's injury, Lux's struggles. Eliminate everybody there. Third base, Justin Turner, second in wins above replacement behind Arenado. He's just ahead of Machado and Bryant. He's tied for seventh in home runs, tied with Machado, second in OPS. So to me, again, if you're just looking from an unbiased perspective, he's second in wins above replacement. He's ahead of Machado in home runs. I think Turner probably belongs there. You know, it's worth noting Dave Roberts is the manager. So once we get to picking some of these guys, Dave Roberts will have some flexibility. I can't imagine Justin Turner doesn't get selected. I know that there's a lot of competition at that spot, especially with a guy like Machado and every team needing representative, etc. But I think Turner gets in, just a prediction for me. On to the outfield. Mookie Betts, Chris Taylor, the two candidates here if Taylor's not a second baseman. They are 6th and 7th in wins above replacement amongst all outfielders in the National League. They're 14th and 15th in OPS. Mookie Betts is beating Taylor in both those categories, and then 14th and 15th in home runs as well. So that'll be a challenging one. Like I said, Mookie fourth among outfielders. So I would say there's a decent chance that he gets voted in as a starter. Chris Taylor, ninth. Of all of these guys, Taylor is the guy that if you listen to the quotes from Dave Roberts, it sure seems like Dave Roberts is motivated to get Chris Taylor onto an all-star team. So I think Taylor is going to be an all-star one way or another. I think his positional flexibility means that Dave Roberts can just find a spot, replace an injured guy, whatever, to get Taylor on. But I think Chris Taylor, even with the slump that he's currently in, I think he makes it. On the pitching side, that's where it gets crazy. I had a friend text me and say, hey, the National League starting pitcher is loaded. I mean, as a Dodger fan, you think Kershaw, Buehler, Bauer, Urias, like they've got a bunch of candidates. There are so many good starting pitchers in the National League this year. When it comes to WAR, Clayton Kershaw is 4th in WAR. Walker Buehler's 19th. Urias is 20th. Bauer is 26th. When it comes to ERA, Buehler is 9th, Bauer is 13th, Kershaw is 18th, and Urias is 24th. So that's where you get the tricky piece is you look at WAR and Kershaw is the best. You look at ERA and he's third. I think Kershaw and Buehler are the two guys that have a chance here. Again, having Dave Roberts as the manager, I think helps. I think Buehler has been fantastic, especially of late. I think Clayton Kershaw probably gets a little bit of a nod just as a sort of a career award. Obviously, he's a guy that means everything to Roberts and the Dodgers. And so if I had to guess, Kershaw and Buehler. Now, crunching the numbers, whom does that mean doesn't get in around the league? That's where it gets tough. But Kershaw and Buehler, I could see both of those guys getting it. And maybe Kershaw is one of those things where he gets into the All-Star game and then sort of passes on the honor because he wants to rest up for the second half or something. Last but not least, relief pitchers. Kenley Jansen, 10th in wins above replacement, 6th in ERA, 2nd in saves among National League relievers. I think he gets in. I think he's been fantastic. 2nd in saves, 6th in ERA. It's hard to compare WAR because you're comparing him to guys who are pitching in low leverage situations or maybe multiple innings. So when you see a guy who's the second best team in the National League, 2nd in saves, 6th in ERA, he's been lights out. I think Kenley Jansen gets in. So if you're keeping track of that, that's a lot of All-Stars for the Dodgers, as you would expect. I think Will Smith gets in. I think Max Muncy gets in. I think that's the safest bet. I think Chris Taylor gets in. I'm not sure where, but I think he does. I think Justin Turner gets in. I think Mookie Betts gets in. So 5 position players for the Dodgers. On the pitching side, I think Jansen gets in. I think Kershaw gets in, and I think Buehler gets in. That's 8 Dodger All-Stars. That seems like a ton. There's probably a couple guys there. Maybe one of Kershaw and Buehler don't get in. And I think Turner's the other guy that'll be on the fence as far as whether or not he gets in. But that's who I've got. I mean, Mookie Betts is another guy you could argue maybe doesn't totally deserve it based on how he's played, but I think reputation, WAR, that type of stuff is going to bump him in. So what do you think? 8 All-Stars for the Dodgers. That seems like a lot. Obviously, I'm not going through and doing the math on this guy's going to get in and this team nets a representative. So as I say it out loud, I think 8 sounds like too much, but who doesn't get in of those 8? Maybe I'll phrase it that way. Let me know who of those 8 doesn't get in. As always, we appreciate you joining us. We're going to have a couple series previews coming up in the next couple days. Olivia Garvey, who is a Dodger fan that covers the Nationals, she's going to be joining me. We're going to record that later this afternoon. And then Rob and I will be back tomorrow with the series preview as well. So stay tuned for that. As always, Dodger Blue 1958 on YouTube has the latest. We appreciate you watching. Enjoy the week. And hopefully the Dodgers can keep this win streak up against the Nationals.
The best team holding a trophy high in the air. The Los Angeles Dodgers, champions of the baseball world.